Welcome into the Sports Buffoons Podcast. What's going on out there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls out there of the world, Buffoons Clan? Welcome back in once again to the Lenexa Buffoons Studios out here in Kansas. And welcome here with our boys Tanner Dawson to my left, as well as Jason JG to my right. How you doing, fellas?
You know, for a Kansas City sports fan, not too hot. Otherwise, doing pretty well.
Not too hot? You mean like because of the Royals?
Yeah, we're
don't let
the worst record
you
in
down,
the Major League
Tanner.
Baseball officially. It is so disappointing.
It's over. The season's over. Probably a hopeless case for like the next 10 years, but hopefully I'm wrong. Time to sell off the farm, I would say, or as Jason would
You
say,
got some pieces.
sell the farm. You got Benintendi to get rid of probably soon, I hope. So, oh well, we're not worried about the Royals today, guys. We're here to talk about some NBA, talk about a little fantasy football. That's right, we have that coming up for the first time here because welcome to June. Welcome to the month before the month. The month before the month, we go out to NFL training camp, which means
That's true.
Which means football season, guys. It's just a sniff and a bluff away. It's very close by. And so for me, it's like, let's get through June, and then we're right there where we want to be, which means NFL season's around the corner. JC, how you doing?
What it is, yo? What's up?
All right, well, with that said, what are you sipping on right now?
Well, I was told to buy some rye whiskey this time. You know how I'm addicted to bourbon. I was told to buy the Roulette rye whiskey. It's actually not that bad.
Oh, I thought you had it on the shelf, actually, but I guess it's not there anymore.
No,
so.
it's right next to your old Forester, dude.
Oh, it's hidden off the scene a little
So
bit.
we like to
Okay.
gamble on this show, right?
Mhm.
So I saw
I thought it was pretty
a
cool
rye
looking.
whiskey called Roulette. I was like, yeah, let's see what it's about.
I just got a little old Forester Forest here to get rolling on because I have to get through some more NBA topics to get to my favorite thing, which is football. So for me, it's like, man, I need some good old whiskey to get me through this
You gotta get
segments
through
for a
this
little
one,
bit.
don't you?
But with all that said, I have some good things to say and some very important things to get off my chest about the NBA Finals, I would say, and put it that way. So with that said, you guys just had a show here on Monday night.
Yes.
It was Tanner, Jason, and then our buddy Nick. Is that
Yep,
right?
Nick Bodkins.
He was also there involved. You guys gave a little bit of your predictions about how you see the Celtics Warriors finals going down. Do you guys have any other thoughts though, as far as regarding this series coming up starting on Thursday? I'm just kind of curious. Anything's changed in your mind, or do you still have the same beliefs as you had just a couple nights ago?
It's basically the same thing for me. I talked about experience on that previous show, but it reminded me of the fact that, we like to talk about experienced teams that have won a lot of championships like the Warriors. We also like to talk about teams that are hungry, teams that have never won anything. And that would be like the Boston Celtics, because those guys, they're chasing a championship at this point. And they're close, but they haven't really done it before.
Hold on. You're saying the winningest team in NBA history is hungry.
Those players haven't won shit.
Correct. Okay. I just want to make
So
sure
I'm
we
talking about
clarified
the
on
players.
the Celtics thing, considering they have 18 championships in their time.
They only got a couple.
That's a couple. More than the Spurs, as a matter of fact.
Pretty sure those players are not going to get cocky about the fact that that organization has that many championships. But it just got me thinking about the Warriors themselves. And we always like to talk about Clay and Steph and Draymond and how many championships they have, even Kevon Looney, if you want to throw him in there. But it made me think that the Warriors are also not only an experienced team, but they are a hungry team because Jordan Poole, he doesn't have shit for championships. And, there's other guys on that team that have a lot to prove. And so while they are very experienced, they are also a hungry team. You also have Steph Curry, who is, you could say he's chasing some players. I mean, he's not yet, the general consensus would say he's not yet the best player from Akron. I tend to disagree with that. But, Steph wants to add some more rings to his resume. Clay has a few things to prove. He hasn't even played worth a shit for the last 2 years since he's been injured. So while they're experienced, they're also a very hungry team. And so I don't want people to get the idea that, the Celtics are just going to run away with this thing, or they're going to want something more than the other team. You're not going to see that in this series.
It's kind of interesting though, this series, because you got one team with guys like Al Horford, who's never been to a finals. You got, I think almost their whole entire team has never been to a finals, doesn't know the experience. Then you got the other team with the core that's been there, done that. Four times already been in the finals with Curry, Thompson, and Draymond. And then Iguodala's on the bench, right, with experience
Still
as well.
there.
He's still sitting around. So it's kind of interesting that you can count 0 on one team, but yet you can count up to at least 4 or maybe 5 technically that has some kind of finals experience. So it's gonna be interesting on that. It's kind of like the golf matchup we're watching. You got your young guys versus the older guys, essentially. So,
and I brought up Jordan Poole for a reason, because yes,
Poole
he's my guy. But let's think about Gary Payton II. He's never really won anything yet. He's a young up-and-comer, and he's also got a broken elbow. But he's probably going to play in this series. So how much he plays, we don't know. But the team probably wants to accomplish something for him, because he's coming back from a broken elbow, and the guy's got something to prove. So a lot of guys on the Warriors, they do have something to prove.
He's
all the way up to the top.
He's actually questionable, which is a way better designation than
I said. My initial thought that he would probably be playing by games 3 or 4, somewhere in there.
That's
yeah,
right.
I think they have something to prove for sure, because you have a mixture there with the Warriors right now of guys who've done it before, and then you have, as you said, the Jordan Pooles of the world who wants to go out there and get his first ring at the age of what, 22, 23?
23 years old.
So that would be a great kickoff start to his career. And as Steph obviously gets older, eventually you want Poole to become more of a prominent name and prominent force on this roster. Now, the other guys obviously have already been there, done that. And the Celtics, on the other hand, they have everything to fight for right now. Jason Tatum, speaking of trying to prove your name, also just 24 years old. And is a guy who had a really great season this year, and is every single year since his rookie year gotten better and better and better. And then you have another guy, Jaylen Brown. Of course, these guys have no experience whatsoever in the finals at all. Not a single one of those players on this roster has ever been to a finals game. No. So these guys do have something to fight for. And they also had, in my opinion, the best defense in the NBA. And so we're seeing what I think is the true Warriors, which is the best offense in the NBA versus the best defense in the NBA, the Celtics. I truly believe the Celtics were all along the best team in the Eastern Conference. And so I feel like they deserve to be here. Absolutely. They just combining the playmaking ability of that defense, Marcus Smart, and then also a great center as well there as well. One of the top 10 probably defenders in the game, I would say. It's arguable. But then combining that with Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, the youth of those guys. And I think that's going to be something to watch for. And it's a great product of success to see how that rolls out, I would say. But the fact, at the end of the day, to me, and I know you guys already gave your opinion on the NBA Finals and who you think's going to win, whatever. I really think the Warriors all along were a sleeping giant. And I think anyone with any kind of common sense regarding the NBA, and I'm a buffoon regarding the NBA. I am the buffoon here of this. They were always a sleeping giant, always the team that, whether it came down to the Mavericks, whether the Suns got there, the Warriors were going to take care of business, win that thing in 5 or 6 games. And that was going to be the thing that happened regardless who they played against, because Klay is back. Klay's healthy right now.
He looked really good towards the end of that series.
You got too much firepower right there. And also you have Jordan Poole, who's an up-and-comer. So, like, all these guys combined, I just think that's too much to handle. And I truly believe this will be a good matchup, because you're seeing a one defense versus a one offense. I still think at the end of the day, the Warriors have too much for the Celtics to deal with. And I have to go with the Warriors to win this game in either 5 or 6. I'm not going to say for sure 5 or 6.
If you think about it, too, Dan Brosnan was on with Let's Talk Sports this morning. They were talking about the finals and stuff, and I was commenting in. And one of the things I brought up was essentially the rest time that Golden State got. Like, they didn't really have much of a challenge. And basically, after Ja went out, it wasn't much of a challenge. They got blown out game 5. And so their starters sat pretty much that rest of the whole game. So almost 3 quarters worth. They never came back in. So not only do you have that rest, you won the next game. then you didn't have to play until I think it was like 5 days later. And then you took care of the Mavericks in 5. And then you've been sitting out for it'll be a week come Thursday. So the fact that they have all that rest versus the Celtics team, granted they are young and they can go at it, but they've had 2 very physical showdowns with Milwaukee and then Miami. So that went a whole game 7. So these guys are only getting on short rest each time versus the Warriors, where they even had a game where they didn't have to play their starters really because they got blown out. So it's just a matter of rest. Like these guys are going to be in a lot better, I guess, mental capacity here for this because they're not playing.
Yeah, I mean, they've all the time for a vacation if they wanted to.
They could have gone on the beach
sit
for
back,
all we
relax, just watch the other series play out and see what happens. That kind of deal.
Yep.
And I don't know. Do you guys think there's any chance the NBA makes a point this because we've had some ideas this playoff series throughout all this that there could be some things going on behind the scenes to prolong some of the series. Is there any chance you could see this going to a game 7? Either one of you?
Yeah, I could see it, but it's tough because if the Golden State Warriors and Clay, the Splash Brothers come alive, I don't think it goes that far, but it's possible that they go to game 7. I don't necessarily agree that it's going to be background noise for it, but
because what we've seen so far in the playoffs, I feel like is a lot of blowouts, one-sided games. And I think that was the frustration of some fans is every game you watch, it's either all this way or all that way. We didn't see enough tight games. And that goes for the Suns against the Mavericks. That goes for the Mavericks, even against Warriors. And then obviously the Celtics and Heat series. Mm-hmm. We just saw blowouts. And it's like, we want to see tight games. And we barely saw any of those in this playoffs. Yeah. And so I'm hoping we get tight games going forward. But I'm just like, how does this happen? How are we going from the Heat winning by 25 and then the Celtics very next game 2 days later just destroying them by 30? I'm like, how is this a possible thing? Because it's just hard for me to imagine as a football guy. I'm the NFL guy, obviously. We don't see that happen that often to where it's so lopsided one way.
But you got to remember too, football they play once a week.
No, what I'm saying is like in a divisional game. So imagine you have a situation of like the Patriots and the Bills, at that point. So
they're also
don't see,
not going
one go all this way and then one go all this way. Like that.
But you're not seeing back to back like that either.
Right.
These guys are playing back to back game, or not back to back days, but essentially back to back days, where it could turn around. I mean, you got 7 games that you could possibly play. You're gonna get blown out. Why did the Grizzlies blow out without John Morant? The Golden State Warriors that one game. You know what I mean? And then turn around and lose by I think they lost by 15.
Does this have more to do with coaching, effort, energy? What causes these kind of swings?
It could be energy. It could just be their night. It could be just a night.
I would say, Mike, to answer your question, there's about a 10% chance that this goes to a game 7. And the reason I say that is because the NBA, as we all know, they can make things happen. Okay. So if they want to make something happen, they can make it happen. But to me, the talent discrepancy here, and you talked about coaching, I think Ime Udoka as a first-year coach, he's in no man's land. Like he's way in above his head right now. And I look at the fact that Ime Udoka as a coach in that game 7 against Miami, who was letting Marcus Smart jack up threes the entire last couple of minutes of the game, and Marcus Smart was throwing up bricks. Okay, that should never happen, But Ime Udoka is a first-year coach, and he's going to learn from that. But Jason Tatum is the best player on the team. That is the guy that should be making your shots, or who should be taking the shots in the last 3 to 4 minutes of the game. They tried to give that game away. They tried really hard to give that game away against Miami.
By avoiding giving the ball to the best player on the team. Is that your point?
Absolutely. Marcus Smart should never be taking those shots. And so I think Steve Kerr has a clear advantage from a coaching perspective. And so, I shouldn't give it a 10% chance. I should probably go single digit here. It's probably a 7% chance that this series goes 7 games because this is not close. This is not as close as Boston versus Miami. I mean, these two teams are not equal at all.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. I don't imagine a game 7. I see either Warriors in 5 or 6. One of those two.
You want to start? Who's your finals? Who's your finals MVP?
Finals MVP. I mean, why can I not go with the obvious choice of Steph Curry?
Getting his first.
Because it would make the most sense to me, anyways.
Okay.
I think the underdog though is probably Clay to be an MVP, and then after that, you'd have to go towards Jason Tatum, assuming at that point if it's not either of those two, then it's probably going to be the best player on the Celtics. So,
Let's give our just for the show here. Let's give our take from Monday night. What was your prediction and MVP?
Well, I started with the Warriors at 6 only because I don't trust the NBA in terms of, being fair and having good officiating. But, in my heart of hearts, I would say Golden State in 5. But officially I said 6 just because I think they're always going to try to extend this thing. Finals MVP, I'm taking Steph to the bank here because there are a lot of other guys in play, but Steph has got shafted. I mean, he got shafted when Andre Iguodala won the Finals MVP when he was guarding LeBron. So Steph doesn't have one. So I think the NBA is going to feel compelled in whatever way, shape, or fashion. They're going to feel like they have to give it to Steph no matter what. So I think he should be the odds-on favorite. I will give Steph the Finals MVP, and I'm going to say Warriors in 6. Not going to be shocked if it's a gentleman's sweep.
Well, mine was different. So Monday night I talked about it due to the physicality of that the Celtics had to face. We talked about it earlier. I'm going the Warriors sweep 4-0 and Klay Thompson MVP.
Clay and Warriors. Okay. Well, I'd be very surprised if we see a sweep because that's just very rare to see, I would say, in a finals. I don't know how often it's ever happened. I know it has, but it's probably been quite a while.
I will tell you this. In 2014, LeBron James got wiped off the floor with the Miami Heat in record fashion. It was the biggest discrepancy in points in NBA Finals history. They still let LeBron have a game. That was a 5-game series.
That was a 5-game series.
You will never see a bigger point spread when he lost to the Spurs in 2014. It'll never happen again and never happened before. But they let him have a game. And Miami won, I think by, if I'm not mistaken, it was game 2. And Miami won that game by about 2 or 3 points. So it was tight. But the rest of the games were blowouts.
All right. Well, since we're on the topic anyway.
I was going to say for the sweep here, also, this will make Jason happy. There was the 4-0 sweep of the Cavaliers by the Spurs back in 2007.
That's in another lifetime, dude. That was 2007. That was a lifetime ago.
I think that wasn't that LeBron's rookie year? Or not rookie.
No, he was 5. He was like 5 years into the league or 4 years.
That's when he was still taking the dummy Cavaliers to the finals. So
the NBA will never let that happen again. That was a different era. If you want to go back that far.
All right. Well, since we're on the topic anyway at the moment, I'll go ahead and just ask you guys one more before we move along here to interesting topics, I would say. Pause for anticipation. So what one player do you think in this series could let their team down, or who needs to step up the most? So I'm going to phrase it that way by saying that there's a chance in this series that we come into this and we have a guy like a Jordan Poole's on your t-shirt, like a Klay Thompson, like a Marcus Smart, like if a Jason Tatum goes out there and just craps the bed, then they're done. That team is done. Who's going to be the biggest impact, must show up player for their team in the finals? And I'm curious what you guys have to say about this because it's still 2 really, really good teams. And if one party doesn't show up all the way, then you could fail. So, Tanner, who do you have on this?
My biggest impact player is Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown for the Celtics. It's a 2-headed monster, and I talked about it all playoff season. If as long as Jaylen Brown shows up and Tatum does his thing, they're going to be fine. That's the whole thing. Jaylen Brown's a great compliment to Tatum, has been for the last few years. But Tatum can go score 30, 40 points all he wants. But if Jaylen Brown doesn't show up like he has previous games, he doesn't have to have a big game. I'm not saying like score 30 by any means. I'm score 18 to 20 points a game and then be proficient on the defense and help cause some issues there because he can do that. Brown can do that. I said during the first series, I said Brown can put up 30 points if he wants with Tatum. So the guy has, explosive capabilities, but if he doesn't show up, if he doesn't, I guess, produce, Celtics don't have a chance.
Interesting. He's your guy. He's your X factor.
Jaylen Brown's my
This
X
is kind of
factor.
the conversation about X factors. Who is going to be the key piece that either makes or break you in this series? So Jason, go ahead. Who is your key piece for this series?
Well, first of all, I'm going to give my brother Troy his answer. So he texted me. He was supposed to be on the show, was not able to make it. So his answer to this question was Klay Thompson, which is the guy that must show up. And I actually agree with him because
I agree.
Klay is a guy that he started out later in the season, and he's still to this point still trying to get ramped up. But Troy said Klay. He also said the Warriors in 7. So we're all basically picking the Warriors to win. My player or players that must step up in the series, I'm going to start with the Celtics here because Vegas has the Warriors winning the series. A lot of people we talk to, everybody thinks the Warriors are going to win, or most people do. So I thought of this question in terms of the Celtics. What must happen for them to have a chance? And the first player that came to my mind was Al Horford, because Al Horford is a guy that is capable of putting up 20, 25, 30 points if he's hitting his threes. Always a dependable guy on defense. But I alluded to this earlier for Ime Udoka, the coach of the Celtics. He's allowing Marcus Smart to jack up threes and throwing up bricks in end game situations. That can't happen if the Celtics are going to have a chance. And that's why Al Horford is my key guy that must show up, because we all know the Celtics as far as their reputation defensively, but I want to know who's going to show up on offense, because that's where they're going to be in a world of hurt versus the Warriors. And I do not trust Marcus Smart from game to game. Yeah, he'll get you a couple games here and there. Well, he'll get you 20 points or 25 points, but Al Horford is the guy that I trust in the clutch situations to actually shoot and make his 3-pointers. And keep in mind, with Marcus Smart, guys, that's not his job. That's not his job to make threes. His job is to be a dog and to show up on defense and use all of his energy on defense. And that's just exactly what he's going to do.
Basically a Patrick Beverly.
Exactly. But Al Horford is the guy that's he's got to show up. He's got to be like a double-double guy, get all of his rebounds, be a great defender and all that. But he's got to show up on the offensive side of the ball, because outside of Tatum and Brown, I just don't trust anybody else.
There's a lot.
If we want to go to the Warriors side, I know we all think they're going to win. I'll throw a guy out there for the Warriors that must show up, just in case we have any Celtics fans out there that think that this is, we're just going to take it to the bag.
I had one this morning I was on comments with.
Celtics in 5. So that just to speak to those people out there, the guy on the Warriors that must show up to the series is Andrew Wiggins, because he doesn't have to show up offensively, but he must show up defensively, because he's got to be the guy to try to slow down Jason Tatum. You're never going to stop Jason Tatum. Wiggins is the guy that's going to draw that assignment. He's got to at least try to slow him down.
Yep.
And honestly, if you can get 15 points a game, maybe 18 points a game from Andrew Wiggins, the series is over. So all Andrew Wiggins has to do is just show up and play both sides of the ball. And quite honestly, this is going to be a tough series for the Celtics. And if Wiggins shows up, it's a wrap, guys.
No, I love that point. I love both of those picks that he did. So Horford is going to be also a big key, outside of just trying to be the offensive side. But Looney down low for the Golden State Warriors, hot rebounder, big tall guy he's been really great actually all playoffs long of encouraging second chance points. If the Warriors have a chance to get second chance points all the time, it's going to be a short series. So the Al Horford also has a big role of containing him, because Williams only played like 15 minutes last game. So as Williams is down low, Al Horford's got to be the guy. So that's a big key. And then Wiggins was also kind of like my, shadow guy, you could say. I think that he if Clay doesn't win MVP, I think Wiggins does, because I think Wiggins pulls a Iguodala role.
And he was my dark horse pick for the MVP because
we were thinking.
You're going to shut down Tatum, and you might also put up 18 to 20 points a game. You just never know.
You never know what kind of Wiggins you're going to get, essentially. But he's the dark horse, essentially, is what I was thinking too.
It's going to be Steph. We all know Steph's going to win the MVP.
My only argument against MVP, my only argument against Klay Thompson needing to be the X factor in this is that the Warriors were winning without him all year long. And so for me, it's like I see this team who's already well built, well put together. Jordan Poole, obviously young up and comer, and other guys, still Draymond Green being the enforcer. Steph Curry's played well all year long. And they still won. They were winning a lot of games without Klay Thompson.
Yes.
He came along, and that's great to have that as an additional piece. But if you put this series together with these two same teams, you take out Klay Thompson, we're all still going to probably pick the Warriors to win this, won't we?
I agree with you on that. And, when Klay Thompson was out, Jordan Poole was in there. And even when Steph Curry later in the season was out, Jordan Poole was a starter. And so you can do a lot of different things with Jordan Poole. And yes, I agree with you. Under normal circumstances, Klay is not really an X factor, but now we're in the NBA finals. And so you can do a lot of different things in the regular season. Yeah. And Jordan Poole can just step in and give you 30 on any given night. But now that we're in the finals and the Celtics are going to be playing for blood, I think you're very happy to have Klay Thompson in there. And I think, even if Klay Thompson only puts up a 30-burger in one game, that might be the one game that cuts your heart out.
Yeah, and I think it'll be a lot different, too, when Golden State was here last, when Klay went out, Durant went out with knee injuries essentially early in the series. It was Steph and a bunch of other guys, Draymond as well. And I don't think you're going to have this problem this year just for the fact that, Wiggins, you got Poole showing up here. You got some good support now on this team than you didn't have the last time they were in the finals. So I'm not as concerned if Klay goes out. Let's just say Klay goes out. I'm not as concerned that it turns the tide.
And the other thing about Klay is like we all think of him before his injury as being an elite defender.
Yep.
He's not that anymore. He's still ramping it up, but he can still be a very, very good defender. You take him out of the lineup, well, then what do you have? I mean, Jordan Poole is great on the offensive side of the ball, but not really an elite defender. I mean, it's kind of like when you get to the NBA Finals, it's all hands on deck.
Yep. And
so I think Klay, even being not what he used to be, he can still give you a little bit of something on defense that the Boston Celtics offense has to account for.
All right. My guy for this situation right here, because obviously we have the leverage going towards the Warriors. We obviously feel like the Warriors have the edge in this series. So for me, it has to come from the other side of who needs to step up in this series.
Yep.
And I got to go with Marcus Smart because he is the best defender on the best defense in the entire NBA. And so for me, I put this whole thing together, and you're facing against a elite offense with all these guys combined. And if Marcus Smart doesn't show up in this series, then it's game over, 4-game series, it's done with. Marcus Smart has to bring his A game. He cannot pull a Chris Paul right now and go crap the bed and, that'd be it.
Go sit out for an injury.
If he does that, it's going to be a very quick series. It'll be done very boring, and we can all move on to football season, thank God. But with that said, he's a very dominant defender, and we know how physical Draymond Green is, obviously. And we need Marcus Smart to essentially match that kind of energy in this series. Bring it every game, whether it goes to 5, 6, 7 games, bring it every single time. And we already know they have a good interior defender as well for the Celtics. I need someone outside as well that can kind of cover Steph Curry, be physical with him, because Steph Curry is a boundary shooter. We need someone who can be out there as well to match up with him. And I think that the number one guy you can have up against him is going to be a physical enforcer like a Marcus Smart in this situation. So to me, he's a top 3 defender, and they can't just rely on the interior to get stops. So we expect guys like Smart in this series in particular, against this team in particular, to be able to control some of the outside boundary and do his part in this game because if he doesn't show up and give his full energy, and he's got to say he goes out with an injury for any reason, it's done. he is their guy. He is their key piece in this whole thing because you can't just rely on, oh, let's hope that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum go and score 35 each. That's not going to happen. Smart's not your scorer. He's your defender. But he also can be a great assist guy at times as well. But that's my guy. I think if you lose him, you lose everything right out the gate.
And I totally agree with you on that, on the fact that you said that Marcus Smart is essentially their Draymond Green, which is why, you and our picks go kind of hand in hand. I think they should ask Marcus Smart to do more on defense and less on offense. And I think they should ask Al Horford to do more on the offensive side of the ball because, honestly, Marcus Smart is their dog. He's got to lay it all on the line on the defensive side of the court, which is why I don't think he should ever have the ball in his hands in the late game situations trying to jack up threes. I mean, he's going to be expending all of his energy on the defensive side of the floor because that's his job. And I totally agree with you on that pick. I just think that they should try to dial it back a little bit with Marcus Smart on the offensive side of the ball.
I get that. Yeah, that makes sense to me because especially in the playoffs in particular, they've been trying to feed Smart the ball a little more than normal. So I think that he needs to focus more on being that enforcer role, which is what Draymond is for the Warriors.
And just a little FYI, last matchup they had in the regular season, this was the game that Curry left with his injured foot at the end of the season.
Marcus Smart injured him.
Yeah, Marcus Smart had a lunging move that Curry was not a fan of that looked like it was purposely trying to get in his way and not hurt him. But Poole blew up that game for 29 points. Even though they lost 110-88.
Tanner, you just solved the problem for the Celtics. Just go ahead
and just injure him?
Just injure him again. Injure Steph Curry, and then you're probably going to win the game.
If you do that, you probably have the series. Honestly.
Yeah, Celtics won that
game. But right after he said that, he just said Poole basically put up a 30-burger.
Yeah, Tatum.
They still lost, but you do that for a whole series, I think the Warriors are still going to win.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, are you guys hungry at all?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm hungry. I'm very hungry.
You're feeling hungry? He's good. I know why he's good, because both of these cities here, we have Boston, and then we have Golden State, San Fran, and both these cities are known for their seafood, guys. These guys both have great selections. I have personally never been to either one.
I haven't either.
I do have friends that have been to both multiple times. So those of you out there listening, thank you so much. But I was thinking about this because I was just down to Alabama only 3 weeks ago. And I was a very short trip, went to Talladega for the NASCAR race and went down there and hung out. It was great. It was just one of those like 2-night trips, but it was such a rush thing. I didn't get to have any goddamn seafood while I was in Alabama. And I was pissed. I was down here.
You went to a steakhouse.
Tanner, I'm not getting into that steakhouse. I am not talking about that experience. We're not getting into that. Goodness gracious. But next door, Tanner, guess what? There was a local seafood place that I ended up not getting to go to.
Man.
And so as much as I wanted to have seafood down south, that didn't happen. So with that said, I want to live vicariously through you guys. I figured we put together our Mount Rushmore of favorite seafood entrees.
Geez.
And those of you out there listening, if you don't like seafood, well, just bear with us. Come on. I hope you do. Tell us your favorite mussels, anchovies, Oscar blues. I don't know. Making up words now because seafood is
what's Oscar?
How about Chef Curry? He's on the Mount Rushmore.
Chef Curry.
I was just making sure you're talking about the brewery. I was like, I haven't heard that food-wise.
All right. Jason, go ahead. Start off your Mount Rushmore of seafood.
All right, guys. So I hate seafood. I can't stand it, most of it. But there are a few things that I like out there. And so I just wanted to kind of think out loud here for a moment. So I'm going to start with 4 and move up to 1. My fourth favorite seafood is Long John Silver's and Captain D's. Okay?
He's going restaurant.
So
he doesn't know one thing.
I don't have restaurants on this.
He's going to restaurant.
Because I can't stand fish, so I have to go with restaurants in my number 4 spot. Captain D's, they've been around forever. They were around before I was born. It's great fast food. I love Long John Silver's with crumbs and hush puppies.
I love Long John.
Hush puppies.
French fries and chicken. They have chicken if you don't
That's
like
not
fish.
seafood. You got to talk about seafood, Jason. Mount Rushmore
Okay,
seafood.
well, let's just go ahead and move up to my number 3 spot. My third favorite seafood of my whole life is shark. Not to be confused with Baby Shark, which is like my daughter's favorite cartoon.
It's a great video, by the way.
It's a great video. So shark is my third favorite
You want
seafood.
it? I can go get that for you.
And I've been told, guys, that shark meat, you should probably limit it. It's very high in mercury.
Like
which
tuna.
would probably kill you. But it could also enhance your sex drive. Okay? So hear me out. So shark meat, if you take a 3.5 ounce serving with 21 grams of energy sustaining protein, it is also a good source of selenium, which is a very important nutrient for the production of sperm. Okay? So all you guys like me, I'm speaking to the seafood haters out there. Just come to my side here a little bit. If you can eat some shark, you're going to have a little bit higher sperm production, and you might be a little bit better as far as your sex drive and what your woman might be expecting from you. Okay, that's my number 3.
Gotcha.
Now on a more serious side, let's move up to number 2. Second favorite seafood, king crab. Guys, I don't eat a lot of sushi, but when I do, it's got to be king crab. Tastes amazing. Can't go wrong with king crab. Number 1, I got to go with shrimp. You know, not being a seafood eater, shrimp has always been my favorite. And you can do it tempura battered, or you can have blackened shrimp, whatever the fuck you want. It tastes amazing. So that's my Mount Rushmore of seafood.
I feel like we have a very different list here, hearing what Jason's takes were. I do love the sperm count take right there, because if you're trying to have a baby, I feel like you should eat baby sharks or tuna, because tuna is also very high in mercury and so on. So maybe that's a thing. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but I guess I could be for a minute. I guess I'll go ahead and do my Mount Rushmore, Jason.
Let's hear it.
And let's see if we have anything in comparison here regarding mine. So number 4 for me, which is who's Mount Rushmore anyways? Is this going to be like Thomas Jefferson over here? Who's this going to? Where's Thomas Jefferson? We need George Washington's like right here.
Well, Chef Curry is number 4.
All right, shrimp is my number 4 because it is ultra versatile. Everyone loves it, because even JG loves it over here. It's hard to make it the wrong way unless you're just an idiot. So to me, shrimp is an easy one to go to as number 4.
So you're talking about left to right, right? When you're looking at it?
Yeah. Who's my number 4? Who's my little
George
guy?
Washington's your first one.
Oh, that's the little guy on the mountain?
Yep.
What's the
George
next
Washington's your first. Then it goes Thomas Jefferson.
Then Jefferson. Okay.
Then Roosevelt.
And
then Lincoln.
Who has the biggest head?
They all have giant heads. It doesn't matter.
But I mean, who stands above the rest?
It would be Jefferson.
Jefferson's the tallest?
I would say. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
I can't tell in this picture.
All right. Well, I guess my first one.
Well, I feel like Chef Curry has a pretty big head too, so that fits right in.
I think it's a normal size head. But next up, number 3, you guys. Okay, Thomas. Okay, she's showing me the Lincoln has the smallest actually, and then no, George Washington has the biggest. Tanner, Washington has the biggest. Washington's your big dick. So, all right, next up on the list.
Wait. Well, I thought I saw LeBron James on there. Oh, never mind. That was
We're not getting into
Magic
it,
Johnson. That was Magic Johnson.
We're not getting into it yet.
I thought it was LeBron. It was Magic.
Number 3 on my list for Mount Rushmore seafood, we have sitting at Orange Roughy. Orange Roughy, you guys are not familiar.
I've never
it's
heard of it. It's
actually a large deep sea fish.
Really?
It's usually terrific baked and breaded. It is actually one of the fatter fishes found in the deep sea. So, you know, some fishes are kind of built more slender like this. This old boy, he's got a little thickness to him.
Sounds like a fat fuck.
It's my favorite fat fuck of the SeaWorld, I guess. But Orange Roughy is amazing, and I recommend it. You can find it at Sam's Club, at Costco. That's right. They live around here. Or they don't live around here. But you could buy them out here once gas prices go down. But otherwise, it's great stuff. Next up on my list, number 2, we have lobster. Lobster is high in copper, but lobster is delicious, you guys. Something my family does every year for Christmas, or at least we have or done before, was we would just get together an old table like this, and we just lay out seafood all across it, which meaning like small red potatoes, lobster everywhere, and a little bit of corn on the cob. And instead of doing like this whole normal country homemade meal, we would just do a large seafood boil and spray it on the table. And then the cleanup was the easiest thing in the world, You just wrap up the sheet and boom, you throw it away. It's amazing. It's great stuff if you like seafood. Number 1 on my list, you guys, is salmon. Salmon is, to me, one of the more versatile kinds of seafood, as well as it's soft, tender, juicy, got a lot of flavor. You can do a lot with it as far as the dressings on it and that kind of thing. And high in protein, which is what I give a damn about. So for me, salmon is my favorite seafood of all time. Easy to find. It's also not overly expensive. So to me, big fan of salmon.
You know, I like that shit. I'm going to have to put smoked salmon ahead of my Long John Silver's and Captain D's.
There you go. I would not recommend the salmon at Captain D's or Long John Silver's.
No, hell no.
I would not touch that.
Probably
Nope.
a bad idea.
Nope.
So get your salmon, make it yourself,
That's
bake
great.
it, cook it, whatever you're into.
That's
Tanner, what do you got for your seafoods?
Man, I'm not gonna be as like informative as you guys are.
That's too bad.
Number 4 would be catfish. Best place to get that is Jumping Catfish
There you
up
go.
in
Oh,
Olathe.
that's a good place.
It's a good solid place. I love that place. I haven't been there in a long time, but when
I go again.
yeah, I'd take that place. Number 3, guys, would be salmon. Love put it on the grill. I haven't put it on my
Salmon.
Blackstone yet. I'll have to do that.
Salmon actually could probably boost your semen too, because they sound kind of alike.
Are you trying to have a baby or you just want more sperm?
when I go to some of those high-end fancy restaurants, I make sure I get some because it's always good there. The steakhouses and stuff. So salmon's pretty solid. Number 2 would be lobster for me. Just for
Hey,
the
we have
fact,
the same. Number 2, lobster.
yeah, just for the fact. I mean, it's great. I had my brother took me out to a pretty high-class place down in Arizona, and I haven't had that great of a lobster on ice. It was amazing. I think I prefer it that way, but you can also mix it in with your mac and cheese. You can mix it in with some other food. So you kind of, have a big variety with that lobster there. And I can't go wrong. Number 1, guys, is shrimp for me, just for the fact that you can't really go wrong with shrimp. Like you can mix it in buffalo sauce. You can have the big fluffy ones, put it in breadcrumbs, like whatever the hell you want. Essentially, there's so many different types of shrimp as well that different restaurants do.
Right, you could fry it, bake it,
Put it in a
do all kinds of
taco.
stuff. Put
So-
taco shrimp.
You can also test your sperm count and see what it is before and after you have
Ooh,
that.
Tanner, that's a good idea. Get a test
See if
strip,
your
order
sperm
it online
count
from
goes up.
Amazon, and next time you're trying to have a baby, you could just try it out. Just
Jesus.
and then try to see, give it a good old test and see if
I
it
don't
helps.
think I want
This
to do
is
that.
Jason's Dr. Jason's idea.
I'm aware. I'm
So-
aware sperm's all about it. So,
Okay.
but no, shrimp's my
It
favorite.
goes up. It goes up.
Bang bang
whatever you
shrimp.
eat.
That's my favorite one. So bang bang shrimp.
I think
Bang
we
bang
all
shrimp.
agree that
Mhm.
seafood is great. Seafood
Yeah,
It
is
really
great.
I'm a big fan.
And it's going to
I
help you
know
out. It's
all
gonna
you
help
care about
out.
is one thing that comes from it, but when I say comes from it, you know what I'm saying. But otherwise, I just love the flavor. I like seafood in general. So, anyways, that's my story about Alabama and our Mount Rushmore of seafood.
It can't hurt you. It can only help you.
That's right.
Right. Even too much mercury.
Well,
screw
that could
recommendations.
probably hurt you.
Nah, screw the.
Yeah, no,
go for it.
I don't want to.
Eat the shark, eat the tuna. Go
Talk
for
to
it.
your doctor before you eat a lot of mercury.
You want to talk about something really fun, guys? Fantasy football is back again.
Yeah.
Here we are in June, kicking off. Today is actually June 1st, as a matter of fact.
It is
So
June 1st.
what that means to me is, me as commissioner of our fantasy league, I got it set up. I'm getting our divisions put together. I have our schedule officially already put together. As a matter of fact, Tanner, we're 3 months away from the draft, but I don't give a damn. I need to get excited about something these days. So for me, I was like, let's get this going. I finally, for the first time, looked at the ADPs of the current 2022 NFL fantasy draft season. And my first thought after seeing all that was, guys, this is a great time to already get your way too early must-take sleepers put into the back of your mind, because it's never too early to think about fantasy, but it is a situation where things will adjust over time. You never know when ADPs will fluctuate, or injuries, or movements around the leagues and that kind of thing. But I know I care about value. And when I talk about value, I don't mean going to Captain D's over buying better seafood. I mean talking about getting great players in later rounds that are going to end up becoming superstars that should have been 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd round picks. And so for me, I'm going to go ahead and say my guy right now, as a matter of fact, Jameis Winston. should be on your list as one of your must-take sleepers. The reason I say that, he currently has a round 14 ADP in all of mock drafts across the fantasy spectrum. Yes, it's June 1st, guys. I understand. Wait 2 months, see where he's at. He could be still there. He could move up a little bit. I would still take him well above round 14 right now. The Saints drafted Chris Olave from Ohio State, going to be a prominent role in that offense. Also, Michael Thomas should be 100% healthy and back from his injury where he missed all of last season, as well as the addition of Jarvis Landry. So, obviously, adding weapons to the offense, plus you still have Traquan Smith and Marquez Callaway. Guys, this is a perfect situation for a quarterback like Jameis, who only threw 3 interceptions all of last year and 14 touchdowns in just a few games played. So what I'm looking at Jameis Winston right now, I'm going, what is his upside? His upside to me, at the absolute most, I'm going to go towards 2019. What he did in 2019, he was actually the QB4 in all of your fantasy leagues. And so with that said, yes, he had Mike Evans, he had Chris Godwin. I understand all that. I get all that. But here's the deal. Jameis is 28 years old, still maturing, still growing into a little bit of what he's capable of. The interceptions he had in 2019, when he went, I think it was 30 for 30 or whatever.
30 for 30.
He went 30 for 30, which meaning 30 touchdowns,
Before
30
his eye
interceptions.
surgery. Before the
eye surgery. And then we saw the improvement he's had now as a Saint, where the interceptions, the turnovers have gone way down. Taysom Hill is now out of the picture as a quarterback. He's officially a tight end on this team, and they know that. So Winston will be the quarterback of the New Orleans Saints this season, and I love the additions they've made, as well as the deep threat of Chris Olave, the intermediate threat of Michael Thomas, as well as Jarvis Landry. Those are guys that are going to be big roles on this offense. He's got tons of weapons to work with, whereas last year he didn't have that.
He didn't.
And still just threw 3 picks. So, guys, I love this so much, and I see him having similar production as what he had just 3 years ago, 2019, where he was the 4th ranked quarterback in all of fantasy. So Jameis Winston is a guy I do not give up on him. If he falls in your draft, definitely scoop him up this year. You're going to not be disappointed at all with the production you're going to get out of him.
Not at all.
Yeah, and I love the pick of Jameis Winston because it's not so much about his upside. It's about his lack of downside.
Yep.
Being in a dog shit division where you're going to be playing Tampa Bay twice, you'll be coming back from behind. And so that's a great pick. I mean,
the Panthers are not a good team, and the Falcons are not a good team.
Dog shit teams.
Those are teams you can beat up on. So we're talking about coming back. How about the teams where, it's like in college football when you're playing a D2 school in Georgia. Go up there, just whoop their ass, and yeah, you might be benched in the 4th quarter, but go out there and put up big numbers. I see Jameis Winston this year being a 35 touchdown guy, maybe minimum. And I'm saying if he plays every game, of course, when I say that.
Yeah, correct.
But his interceptions are probably going to be somewhere around 12 to 10.
Yep.
I love that. And his yards are probably going to be over 4,000 easily.
Rushing yards, yeah.
Guys, this is a guy that could be your true QB1 of your fantasy roster.
You could.
Tremendous value.
It's assuming
and 14th,
Akeem Nicks doesn't destroy him.
The guys he's put between right now is Matt Ryan's above him and Tua's under him on the ADP list.
Okay.
So, yeah. So keep in mind.
And I don't even think he's a guy that's going to move. I don't think that's going to shift that much.
I hope he stays.
He could move up the board a little bit as we move forward, but I mean, he's not a big name. Like, I don't really get a hard on for him when I think about Jameis Winston.
Everyone thinks of Jameis as a bust. The truth is, yes, he's had some immaturity issues, of course. The guy's actually not done developing. And so for me, I see this guy as like, from seeing what he did last year, improving on the turnovers, but also knowing the upside he has, what he did with the Buccaneers, numbers-wise, for fantasy, guys. I think that you're going to meet him somewhere in the middle of those two things. And as he's getting older, he's 28, still pretty young for a quarterback. The guy's not a bust at all.
And
there's still time to work with him.
Just think, too, they got Michael Thomas coming back. He didn't have Michael Thomas at all last year.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a huge one.
Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, Jarvis Landry. Plus, you got Alvin Kamara still there in the backfield. Guys.
For now.
Well, yeah, whatever.
And for those of you that are still trying to figure out who was the best player out of that draft 100 years ago between Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston, I mean, pretty sure we figured out that one of those guys sucks.
Well, it wasn't wrong.
And the other guy still has some potential.
That was wrong draft.
That was Andrew Luck. And
Yeah, what am I thinking? Andrew Luck draft. I don't want to think that draft.
Wrong draft, Tanner. All right, what do you guys got for your way too early must-take sleeper of the fantasy football
What do you got,
season,
Jason?
guys?
All right, guys, I'm going to go with the running back here. I'm going to go with Darrell Henderson of the LA Rams.
Interesting.
And we all know that Cam Akers is the guy. He is the featured back in that offense. But in 5 games played last year, he was at 2.4 yards per carry. Now, I'm not going to bash him for that because we all know he was coming off of a torn Achilles. But we look at Darrell Henderson, he was the RB14 through week 12 last year, averaging 15 PPR points per game. He was within 1 point per game of Dalvin Cook and Nick Chubb. And so I think the potential is there for Darrell Henderson. And I don't really know what Cam Akers is at this point. I mean, yeah, he could be serviceable this year, but I don't really trust his health at this point. So I think Darrell Henderson is a guy that you could take a flyer on, and he could really help out your team this year.
Interesting. So what makes you think? Do you think he's going to have a better year than Cam Akers? Is that why, or is it just a value-based proposition there?
It's more value-based. I mean, yeah, he could have a better year ultimately, but I mean, I think that Cam Akers, you look at a guy like that was taken in the 2nd round. Well, Darrell Henderson was taken in the 3rd round. So to me, those guys are kind of interchangeable. And so, yeah, I mean, if Cam Akers is fully healthy for the whole season, then yeah, I mean, he's going to be the starter, but I just don't trust him to be healthy. And so I think that Darrell Henderson is a great value pick here.
Okay.
That's interesting one.
You got Tanner.
Actually, I got myself, like you guys always say, I can be surprised, but I got the tight end for you to look at.
TJ Hawkinson.
Oh, TJ. That's a good
Greg
one,
Olson. Greg Olson. Every year.
Tony Gonzalez.
So, Greg Olson's coming back, and he'll no. That's just bad. Cole Kmet.
Jared Cook.
Chicago Bears tight end. This is a guy that was ADP 127 this year, so he's going to be available for you. This is a guy also towards the end of the season really picked up in targets, receptions. Didn't quite approach the TDs, but I think there's some high views on him because if you look at the Chicago's depth chart right now, really all you got is Mooney, Equanimous St. Brown, and Brian Pringle. And Pringle could be suspended for all we know because whatever, I forgot what he did. Todd Sharp's there. There's not a lot of guys there in the wide receiver core. So Fields is going to be looking for a TD guy. He's going to be looking for a clutch guy this year, and Cole Kmet's going to be the guy. It's not going to be Ryan Griffin. It's not going to be James O'Shaughnessy. It's going to be Cole Kmet. The guy's going to be out there. He's going to be in there. I think his high side is Dawson Knox from last year. His high side could be Dawson Knox if Justin Fields stays in the pocket and that line gives him time. Tevin Jenkins is in the 2nd year. The line's looking pretty much the same from last year, which wasn't great, but it should be a little better this year. So I'm thinking Cole Kmet's going to be my sleeper for a tight end that I would pick here at ADP 127.
Gotcha. I don't mind it, mainly because I still believe that a young quarterback's best friend a lot of times is a tight end.
Correct.
And so for
second
me,
year in, too.
It makes sense, especially on a team. They added Byron Pringle, obviously the receiving corps, but that they don't have a lot of big firepower there at wide receiver. So Cole Kmet is one of those guys I could see having a big step up. Also going to be only 23 years old. So yeah. I like the youth. I like the fact that we're looking at a guy that could be paired with this quarterback for a long time. So hopefully they have a connection that can be built right away out the gate. A little more so, I would say. Obviously, they had a connection last year for a little bit, but
not much.
You're expecting
it was there
to see that grow. Obviously, last year there was 0 touchdowns from Cole Kmet, so I would expect this year they hope he becomes more of a red zone type of a target for that team. But I don't mind it. And what round did you say he's going in, Tanner?
It was or is it here? So I guess 127 is the ADP. So that would be.
In a 12-man league, that'd be somewhere around 11th round, 11th, 12th,
11th,
11th or 12th,
11th
round,
or
somewhere
12th.
between that range.
So the best outlook he has is 91, and his worst one's 180.
Gotcha. I would prefer Cole Kmet to be taken as my tight end 2, probably in most cases. And I know Tanner would take him as a tight end 4 because he's already got 3 others loaded
I already
up.
got 3 others loaded
He's
up.
already got his
Maybe
team
tight end 5.
loaded up with
Might be
tight
a
ends.
tight end 5.
And he won't trade any of them. He's going to keep the ball. So, yeah, I don't mind the pick. I understand where it comes from. He had 600 yards last year and 60 catches. And really, for most tight ends in this league, that's a good year. Problem is, just get those touchdowns up. Yeah. Imagine I said that same number, Tanner. Imagine I looked at you and I said, Cole Kmet, 22 years old for the Bears last year, had 60 catches for 612 yards, and he had 7 touchdowns. We're now looking at this guy as going like, oh, well, he's going to be pushed way up the board.
At least top 6,
right?
Or 6 rounds.
He's gonna, well, I don't know if I go that high, but, pushed up the board from where he's at least. But it's just that big zero burger that's holding him back, which you can take advantage of out there if you are a fantasy owner. So something to think about. I think Cole Kmet's actually not a bad pick, and it makes sense to me as well. So I appreciate that. So there we go. Three good picks. We had Darrell Henderson, Jameis Winston, Cole Kmet. So I like it.
We got a 4th pick. So Troy was going to bring it up. So he's not able to be on the show, but I want to know what you guys' thoughts are on Deshaun Watson as a sleeper.
What kind of pick are you going to spend on him is the problem, because there's still a lot up in the air right now. And so if we roll all the way 3 months from now to draft day and we still don't know what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson, then I'm going to assume he's going to play.
You got to look at the ADP.
Well, ADP is 98.
98.
98.
If we're talking about right now, ADP 98 of Deshaun Watson. If I was in a dynasty league, I would definitely take him at that range. For a 1 year, if I just have a redraft league where I'm just drafting him now, I would not touch him.
No,
at all. It's not worth it to me. I would only look towards keeping him in a dynasty type of style, because for 1 year, wasting a 98, that's also getting a really good receiver in that range that I, in turn, could get a quarterback that does nothing all year long based on what the NFL does.
So Deshaun Watson, you might be looking at him in maybe like the 11th round or 12th
in
round.
In a redraft
like
league?
Yeah.
In a redraft league, I would take Jameis Winston over Deshaun Watson. And I already told you guys, Winston was in the 14th round.
Yeah.
So Winston's in the 14th round. Watson's in my at least 15th.
Deshaun's best worst is 61 versus 254.
It's a big range.
It's a big range.
Big range.
I mean, there's a lot of people that are still taking them, obviously, early on. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Deshaun just there was a 23rd case that just got added to his list. So, yesterday. So now he has 23 cases still to be done.
I think I would draft him at that point.
I don't know. I think I'd pass.
What ADP?
I just don't know if he'd play.
I would take a flyer, because when I get to that 12th and 13th round, I think of that as maybe a flyer.
So, would you be thinking future in case he doesn't play, like as a keeper for next
year?
Sure,
because we have keepers in our league, guys out there listening.
I just have this in the back of my mind. I think he's going to play. Okay. I don't think the NFL is going to take that 23rd case versus the 22nd that much more seriously. And so I think he's going to play this year. I mean, he's going to play like the max for me, guys. If you want to just let me float out a scenario for you, I don't think he will miss more than 6 games.
Okay.
Bar none. That's the max. That is the max. I don't think the NFL is going to allow it to happen.
And then you look at Jadeveon Clowney and you go, you really are a clown, because you went back to the Browns to supposedly win a championship when you had other teams out there who needed a pass rusher and you passed up on.
All right, real quick too. I know, real quick. I just want to I would say, would you draft him or not? Amari Cooper at ADP 49. Deshaun Watson does not play. Suspended.
What's the question again?
If Deshaun Watson's suspended,
if Deshaun Watson doesn't play,
if he doesn't play, would you draft Amari Cooper at 49?
49 would essentially be the very beginning of the 5th round.
No, hell no. Hell no, I wouldn't do it.
Because
no, I would not.
Your backup quarterbacks currently are Baker, but he shouldn't be there by the time. So then you're looking at Jacoby Brissett and Joshua Dobbs.
No, I'm not messing with that, because first of all, Amari Cooper already drove me nuts when he was a Cowboy.
Yeah.
Why would I want to deal with him now as a
Hell no, dude. You don't want any part of that shit.
First of all, I'm not drafting Amari Cooper in general in our league. So you guys know that already off the board. So he's not on my list whatsoever. So unless he falls like round 11, maybe I'll consider it. But and otherwise, he's a headache to me. He's a frustrating guy to deal with. He's inconsistent, injury prone, and the quarterback play thing with the Browns.
It's too questionable.
I don't like it at all. Not a fan. So nope.
Okay.
Big
No,
no.
I want no part of Amari Cooper, and the reason why is because I actually sold his rookie card not that long ago. You want to know how much money I made on that Amari Cooper rookie
30.
card? About $7.
$7.
No, you don't want to draft that guy.
$7 whole.
$7.
He came out at the same time as Marcus Peters, and we thought those two would be going head to head, Chief and Raider forever, and that never happened, did it?
They tried. They did their best.
They did their best. All right, guys. Well, with all that said, I hope you guys did any final thoughts here. Anything else?
Yep, I got a shout out
Go
real
ahead.
quick here. Saturday, Let's Talk Sports, guys. I'll be on at 11 o'clock. Sunday night, 8 p.m. Central on the Bakken Show. I'll also be on talking about a little bit of sports and food in the background, and also talking some NBA, Royals, and I believe some Chiefs as well, and possibly some Cubs and Packers stuff. So I'll be on there. Monday night, Bakken's. JG and I will be back on to see how the series is going for the finals. Catch us there at around 8 p.m. Central there. And then, of course, next Wednesday, we'll all be back together.
That is right. All right, guys. With all that said, I'll see y'all on the next one.
Sports buffoons, we're out.
See you guys.